podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network. Sports Social, now on the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is For F1's Sake, your fourth favourite F1 podcast.
That seems optimistic.
No, I think that's fair. You've got the ones with the people who are actually at the races, you got the ones with the people who've actually driven cars, and you got the ones with the people who don't hate everything, and then us.
This is For F1's Sake, hosted by someone who's barely a journalist and another person who's barely a comedian.
And we would barely talk about F1.
Well, we're barely a podcast, to be honest.
It works well.
Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC and your daily reminder that the Reds are top of the league and 2024 Carabao Cup winners and still in the FA Cup and still in the Europa League with a favourable draw. And, now this is an unofficial title, but 2024 piss-boiling champions. Because you see, folks, Liverpool at the weekend went to Nottingham, dominated the game, couldn't find a goal, kept going, and eventually got the goal that they deserved and got the 3 points that they deserved. But you see, because Liverpool bad, that goal boiled all of the piss. All of the piss in Nottingham, and there's plenty of it. All of the piss on both sides of Manchester, and all of the red piss in North London, probably some blue piss in West London, and a little bit of claret and blue piss in the Midlands. There's nothing funnier than how upset people get when Liverpool do well. Absolutely nothing funnier. Of course, because Liverpool bad does numbers, you've got boffins, former referees, gobshites, and all other kinds coming out and talking about the controversy of Liverpool's win. So let's have a look at how Liverpool won. Nottingham Forest have a corner. The ball comes in. It's cleared. In the process of it being cleared, Ibu Kanate gets clattered. Now, he gets clattered in two ways. Number one, Ryan Yates comes kung fu kicking his way towards the ball. Extremely dangerous play. Unquestionably a free out for Liverpool. Potentially a review for a red card for dangerous play, endangering an opponent. And Kelleher also clatters into Ibu. And Ibu is hurt, so Ibu goes down. The ball lands at the feet of Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now the whistle appears to go after he takes a second touch to control the ball. At no point does he progress the ball. At no point does he try and beat the man. At no point does he pass the ball or do anything else. When you listen to it slowed down, the whistle appears to go while the ball is travelling towards him. It could be either. Regardless, a drop ball is given, and the ball is given back to Liverpool. The crying is that the ball should have been given back to Forest. But yet, earlier in the half, Harvey Elliott has a shot from the edge of the area. It hits one of their players, gets cleared, and the ball is breaking to a Liverpool player. And Liverpool are in a position to attack. And when the whistle goes, the drop ball is given, and the ball is given back to Nottingham Forest. So you see what's happened here is the referee has made the same decision twice, and he's been consistent in his decision-making. So you see, I don't think people's argument is that the referee made a mistake. I think it's that he didn't give an advantage to Nottingham Forest. There's lots of crying about the added time. So let's recap on that. There was 8 minutes of stoppage time announced. That was made up of the 5 minutes that Matt Sells spent on the ground getting treatment, pretending to be hurt, after coming together with Jayden Danns, and the 2 minutes it took Dominguez to leave the field when he'd been substituted. It's also worth noting Divock took an absolute eternity to get off the pitch when he was substituted for them as well. Plus, there had been other substitutions, so 8 minutes probably wasn't long enough. Between the Sells injury, the fella hitting the floor after Harvey hit him with the ball, Nico Williams was down for a good minute after Robbo knocked into him, and Dominguez taking a year to get off the pitch. It probably should have been more like 10 minutes. But anyway, 8 minutes was given. In that 8 minutes, there's the stoppage for Ibu, which is a quick stoppage, but a stoppage nonetheless. And there are not one, but 2 Nottingham Forest players booked for time wasting. 2 Nottingham Forest players booked for time wasting. So obviously there had to be additional time played. The funniest part of all of it is Arsenal fans cribbing and crying about it when last season they scored multiple goals over a minute after the allotted stoppage time was meant to have ended. And this season they scored their winner away to Luton after the additional time had ended, when there was no reason for additional time at the end of stoppage time. There was no reason for it at all. There were no stoppages in the allotted 6 minutes. And yet Declan Rice scored on 97 minutes and there was nothing said. But then Liverpool bad. I don't understand how any Nottingham Forest fan can say with a straight face that they deserved to win that game. I've seen some say they deserved to win that game, that they were the better team. But I don't understand how they can say that. They set up at home to park the bus and try and hit us on the counter. And that's literally all they did, was park the bus and try and hit us on the counter. They had one good chance in the game. Well, technically they had 2. They had one good chance in the game, which was the Elanga chance in the second half that he put wide. The other chance is the 1v1 that Elanga had with Kelleher, which would have been called back for offside had he scored. And yet is included in XG models, which is part of the reason XG is a load of wank. So I just don't understand how they can claim it. We had far more of the ball. We had more shots. We didn't work the goalkeeper nearly enough, which was disappointing because he's not very good. But what a goal to win it. Alexis McAllister, undeniably for me, the signing of the summer, with a sensational bit of composure and a lovely cross. And Darwin returning to the team with a brilliant header. And we fully deserve the win. We fully deserve the win. And it's just bitterness that leads people to claim otherwise. It's also bitterness that has moronic Arsenal fans claiming that what we're doing is unsustainable. I'd love to know what about it is unsustainable. Like, I genuinely would, because I'm really confused. Because when I look back at our results since the turn of the year, we destroyed Newcastle. What about that isn't sustainable? Then we went and we won away to Arsenal in the Cup. Then we 2-1 at home. We battered Bournemouth 4-0 at their place. We drew 1-1 away to Fulham. We hammered Norwich 5-2. We hammered Chelsea 4-1. We went and we lost to Arsenal. We beat Burnley 3-1, had to work for it, but beat them eventually. We went and we beat Brentford 4-1. We beat Luton 4-1. We beat Chelsea 1-0 with most of our team missing. We beat Southampton 3-0 with a bunch of kids playing. And then we beat Forest the weekend. There's so many different types of performances and results and ways that we went about winning games just in the last 2 months. There's no trend there. So what about this is unsustainable? And you want to talk about sustainability. We've done this with all these injuries, and now we're getting players back. We got Dominic and Darwin back at the weekend. We'll hopefully get Mo back for the next game. The international break is coming up. Off the back of that international break, we'll hopefully get Trent and Curtis, maybe Alisson and Gravenberch, all coming back. And then the ones that are out are Matip. He's not coming back this season. Thiago, nobody expects him to play again this season. Besetic, don't expect him to play much of a role, but maybe he does come back. And maybe that's another boost. And then Jota, who should be back in mid-April. So you want to talk about sustainability. We're doing this without half our team, without world-class players. And those players are coming back. So why wouldn't we sustain it? When you look at the fixtures that we have, throwing out the two cup competitions that we're still in and looking at the league, where is it that we will fall? Now, obviously, we've got Manchester City next at home. Our home record this year is absolutely phenomenal. And Anfield has been, when it's needed to be, an absolute bear pit this season. But in the league at home, 11 wins, 2 draws. Both of those draws, we should have won. We should have beaten United comfortably because we were much better than them on the day and they're shit. And we should have beaten Arsenal. Trent missed a sitter. Odegaard was allowed to play basketball. We should have won that game. Our next 3 league games are all at home. City, Brighton, Sheffield United. City's obviously the toughest of those. But if we line up with Quivin, Gomez, Kanate, Virgil, Robbo, Dominic, Endo, Alexis, Mo, Darwin, Diaz, does anyone think that's not good enough to beat Man City? Because I think it is good enough to beat Man City. Then Brighton, I mean, they can't defend at all. They're very open. And they're not as good going forward as they were last season. We should win that. And then we should beat Sheffield United because they're tragically bad. So that's the next 3. Now, let's say we take 7 points. Let's say we draw with City and win the other 2. Well, we're still ahead of City with a draw. And then City's next league game is Arsenal. So one or the other, or maybe both, is dropping points in that one. The ideal result for us, obviously, would be a draw. And we beat Brighton and we go back top. Because Arsenal, if they beat Sheffield United and Brentford, would take top spot on goal difference. But then they've got City. So again, advantage back to us. We beat Brighton, we beat Sheffield United. We go to Old Trafford. I don't think we're losing there this season. Then we're home to Palace. Very favourable. Then we've got 2 tough away games, Fulham and West Ham. Then it's Spurs at home. Tough game, but you would expect us, if we're in a position where we have a lead in the title, with 3 games left, Anfield will be absolutely hopping that day, and Spurs won't like it. We beat them at home. We go to Villa. It might be that a draw away to Villa is enough for us on that day with Wolves at home on the final day, because City have to go to Spurs. Arsenal have to go to Spurs, have to go to Wolves, have to go to Brighton, and have to go to United. And they face United in like the second or third last game of the season. I think it's the second last game of the season. Now, United are not good, but United might still be scrapping for top 4. And they'll have a bunch of players back from injury at that point. And Arsenal do tend to wobble when the going gets tough. But if we get to the final day against Wolves, now obviously there's an Everton game to fit in here somewhere as well. Everton away in the derby. I think we'll beat Everton away in the derby. If we get to the final day, I know it's just a matter of win and the title is yours. Does anyone think anything is coming between us and the title at Anfield? No chance. We're in a really strong position. A really, really strong position. We've won 8 of 9 in the league. There's nothing unsustainable about our form. Nothing unsustainable. Now, City are in good form as well, of course. Should point that out. But at the same time, they don't look as intimidating as they have in previous years. They've won 9 of 10. They're unbeaten in the league since they lost at Villa Park on the 6th of December. But, you know, you look at some of the results where they've dropped points this year. They 2-2 at home to Crystal Palace, 2 draws with Chelsea, draw at home with us, draw at home with Spurs. They've lost at Wolves, they've lost at Arsenal, lost at Villa Park. They don't seem as inevitable. I still think if we don't win the league, it'll be them. I still think it's their league to lose in some ways because their running is favourable in a similar way to us. They've got us away, then Arsenal home, Villa home, Palace away, Luton home, Spurs away is tough, Forest away, you just never know. Wolves home, Fulham away, West Ham home. It is favourable, no doubt. We could really do with Spurs pulling off a madness there. They've also got a game away to Brighton that will need to be rescheduled. And Brighton away is a more difficult game than Brighton at home for us. So I would say their run-in is a notch harder than ours because they play Arsenal and us, and we only play them, and we're at home for that game. They're away for it. They've also got to go to Spurs, whereas we face Spurs at home. They play Villa home, we play Villa away. Both of us play Wolves at home. Both of us play Fulham away. They get West Ham home, we have them away. I think their run-in from here is a notch harder than ours. I think even for, like, take out the game between us. Let's say that ends in a draw. We're a point ahead of them. I still think we have a slightly easier run than them. The Gunners, on the other hand, I think their run-in is murder. I think it's really tough. So they get Sheffield United tonight. They'll win that. They'll beat Brentford at the weekend. Then they don't play again until the 31st of March in any competition. That's a long time not playing. And Arsenal are not a team that does well when they're cold. So they come back, they go to City. That's really tough. Luton home, Brighton away, Villa home, Wolves away. City lost there. We got battered there first half. We won the game, but it took a monumental turnaround. Spurs away. That's tough. Bournemouth home. United away. Potentially desperately in need of anything to stay up. Everton on the final day. And there's a Chelsea home game to be rescheduled. And I know Chelsea are not good, but at the same time, they've drawn with Arsenal this season and should have beaten them. And they've drawn twice with City this season. And really and truly could have beaten them both times. Like, look at those results. Arsenal home, Chelsea go 2-0 up and then concede 2 late goals, one of which was a goalkeeper's howler for the Rice one, where he played a stupid pass, not paying attention, and Rice runs onto it from 30 yards and puts it in an empty net. The City home game, they go 1 down, then they go 2-1 up, then they go 3-2 down, they get back to 3-3, go 4-3 down, get a late equaliser. But when they were 2-1 up, City did look a little bit ragged. A little bit ragged. After the Sterling goal, there was an opportunity for Chelsea to get a third. And if they'd gone 3-1 up, maybe they go on and win that. Like, they've done well against City and against Arsenal this season. They're not a good team, and nobody's pretending they are. But they might just cause Arsenal some problems. And if they could get a point there, on top of the really, really hard away run that Arsenal have, and having to play Villa at home, Arsenal's running is by far the hardest. Because they've had by far the easiest run of fixtures to date. The schedule has worked really well for them. Now, Arsenal have won 6 in a row. It'll be 8 in a row after they beat Sheffield United and Brentford. But their last 10 are just so tough. So tough. They do have the advantage of being out of the FA Cup, whereas Austin City are still in it. But they are in the Champions League. Now, how long they're in the Champions League for remains to be seen. They play Porto on the 12th of March. Actually, that's their last game, not the Brentford one. Porto's the last game. But they won't play between the 12th of March and the 31st of March. That's 19 days without a game. And if you look at Arsenal when they're only playing 1 game a week, even around Christmas or the back end of the last 2 seasons, they haven't been nearly as good. Arsenal are better when they're playing 2 games a week. And they may well go out of the Champions League quite quickly because Porto are 1 up from the first leg. And frankly, made Arsenal look very, very naive. On This Is Anfield, there is loads of post-match coverage from the weekend. Reece Williams is back playing with the under-21s. Liverpool CEO takes up new role with FSG. He is becoming the CEO of FSG International. The disgusting scenes from Forest fans that led to young fan on the pitch at full time. Forest fans really did embarrass themselves both throughout the game and especially at the end of the game. Nottingham Forest owner had to be removed by security after Darwin Núñez game. That fella's just an embarrassment. You'd hate to have him involved in anything to do with your club, quite frankly. 4-goal Liverpool women boost top 4 hopes in the WSL. Jurgen Klopp becomes second longest tenured manager, surprises in the top 10. So let's see if it gives us a wee list. So second longest serving manager in the Football League. So number 10 is John Brady of Northampton. Number 9 is Nigel Clough of Mansfield. Ian Evatt of Bolton is number 8. David Moyes of West Ham is number 7. Mikel Arteta of Arsenal is number 6, which when you consider he's only been in the job just over 4 years is utterly mental. Thomas Frank is number 5. Mark Robbins of Coventry is number 4. The Bold Spaniard is number 3. Kloppo's number 2. And Simon Weaver of Harrogate Town is number 1. And to be completely honest, that's an amazing achievement. Because in the lower leagues and non-league, managers change at a ridiculous rate. You'll see clubs have 4 managers in a year in the non-league divisions. But this guy has done remarkable work with Harrogate, bringing them from non-league up into the Football League. And credit to him. Like, that's a tiny club that most people wouldn't have heard a bit of a few years ago. And yet here they are holding their own. I don't know exactly where they are. I'll check now. In the National League or in League Two, but like, it's really, really impressive for any lower league or non-league manager to last 3 years. Weaver's coming up on 15 years as manager of Harrogate. Now, I do note that his father is the chairman of the club. So I assume that plays a little part. But he was manager before his dad became the chairman. They were in the National League North, got themselves into the National League, spent 2 years there. And they've been in the Football League since 2020. That's really, really impressive. Now, last year they finished 19th of 24 in League Two. This year they're 11th. That's pretty strong. They're in mid-table. It does look like they were treading water for a few years. 17th the first year, 19th. But 11th this season is really, really impressive. Because I'd imagine their budget is minuscule. They're only 5 points off the playoffs. And they're 22 points above the relegation zone. So they're going to be fine with 11 games. They're definitely staying in the Football League. But they're only 5 points off the playoffs. I think it's massive credit to him to be in that job that long. Anyway, back to the Liverpool women. Grace Fisk, Sophie Roman Hogg scored to put Liverpool 2-0 up. Sarah Mailing scored for Villa to get them back into it. And Emma Koivisto, I think it's Koivisto, scored twice to secure the win for Liverpool's women's team. Great to see them doing well. Liverpool.com. More crying from Nottingham Forest. This time it's Ryan Yates. It's a piece about Jamal Musiala, who I think if Mo was to leave, I think Musiala is someone that would be very, very high on our list. Now, whether or not he'd be willing to leave Bayern remains seen, but Bayern are not in a good position. And he has just turned down a new contract, so we'll see. Phil Foden and Kyle Walker said it's not over till it's over. We'll keep going till the end. They're 1 point behind with 11 games to go. Settle down, lads. There's an injury update. There's a piece about Jude Bellingham, who got himself sent off at the weekend. It's a piece about Gary Neville talking about how Liverpool can win the title and names the weapon that Arsenal don't have. Jurgen, Alisson, Virgil, Trent, Mo, Darwin. Take your pick there, Gary. There's a piece about Jayden Danns, piece about Trent, piece about Forest fans crying and swearing at everybody, and then a bunch of pieces about the win at the weekend. On AnfieldIndex.com, we have a piece about our remaining schedule and where you can watch it. There is a piece about Alan Varela, who is being linked, and I'd be very much in favour of us bringing in to pair with Ali Mack in midfield. There's a piece about Andy Robertson, another piece about Alexis, a piece about Alonso and the data driving Liverpool's managerial search. And then podcast-wise, there's some really good stuff. There is the latest AIP. It is Trev, Cam, and Lisa Marie, episode 380, if you don't mind. There is a post-match Raw, which was myself, Trev, and Jim Boardman having a good old chat about the win over Forest. Today, there is a Media Matters. It's Monday lunchtime, if you don't mind. David Lynch joining Dave Davis to talk about the win, the controversy, and potentially some stuff about the sporting directors or sporting director. And then there's a secret pod that'll be out later today. And that's all I'm saying. So I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.